Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we have a repeat guest. I love it when we have repeat guests because it means they have such great information that we get to talk again. And more importantly, I just like talking with this lady. She is so much fun. It's amazing that we've never met in person, but we've had a great connection. But we met, I believe, online. And just hit it off. And it's so funny because when she first contacted me, and this lovely, delightful woman is, of course, Tess Kossow. And so please join me in welcoming her to our program again.
Thank you.
But when she first contacted me, I thought, well, her subject matter isn't really business related. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But it is business related, and more importantly, it's a very important subject. And so that's why it's great to be able to talk to Tess again. So welcome back to the program, Tess.
Thank you, Deb. Happy to be back.
Great. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So Tess is changing the world of children's picture books with the groundbreaking, and look, I have it right here, I'm Very Ferris series. Come along with Ferris, a baby boy who has an amazing real-life story about in vitro fertilization. The second installment in the I'm Very Ferris series invites children from all families to understand IVF through a child's point of view. However, this time, Ferris is taking you along in one of his favorite routines, bubbles and suds with bath time in the tub. So again, Tess, welcome.
Thank you, Deb. Happy to be back with my second book, I'm Very Ferris, Takes the Bubble Bath.
Great. Let's see it. Let's see it. You have to be Vanna. Great. And I do have a copy, but it's a digital copy, so it doesn't show very well. And clearly quick reads. I mean, these are children's books. But as I mentioned at the start, I had kind of wondered, well, how can we make this a business conversation? And it's a business conversation because of how Tess promotes the books. And that's what I loved about this. Because especially on social media, this is really how you have reached out to people to spread your message. But let's go back just a little bit further because you did used to be out in that real big, scary business world. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So for about 11 years, I worked for CBS News in Chicago, Illinois. And after having my son Ferris back in 2018, I decided that it was time for my career to go in a different direction. And I took my business background, my media knowledge, and my passion for writing. And I thought, what is it that I could do for the world, create a product the world needs, that I'm really excited about, that is different and innovative. And I put pen to paper and I created a children's picture book telling children how IVF is and how they've come to be through infertility, because there was nothing out there on the market that took it from a child's perspective and broke it down in a way that they could understand very easily what IVF is, because there's so many couples going through it. And I had realized, well, I'm now one of those couples. And how am I going to explain to Ferris? And if this is something going through my mind, it's got to be going through a bunch of other couples' minds. So with family support from my husband, I went at Ferris is 16 weeks old. I stopped working for CBS, started my own company, and created I'm Very Ferris, the very first book in the series. And I knew when I was starting that book, it was going to be a series because...
well, Ferris grows.
Exactly.
He gets older.
Exactly. He has adventures, and I wanted to include families from all over. And I really wanted to just kind of test the waters and seeing how people would respond to this. And so the very first book came out in 2019. And the response was very positive. And that whole year I kind of spent as taking myself now as a new mom, as an entrepreneur, as an author, and figuring out social media, figuring out marketing, figuring out my own business and my own schedule now, and balancing motherhood at the same time and getting myself out there. And then at the same time, I was putting pen to paper on the second book, knowing that I wanted to get this book out within another year's time. So in April of 2020, this year, I published the I'm Very Ferris Takes a Bubble Bath book. Again, IVF is in the title of it. And I have just been absolutely hardcore on, again, finding influencers, contacting fertility clinics. It's now become a global thing for me, where I am talking to people all across the globe who are contacting me through social media. And especially in today's time, we are now at home for the most part.
Right.
Or we are working through our computers or our electronic devices or at a distance from someone. So the real opportunity for me to connect with people at any time of day and to get my book out there to give some people a little bit of enlightenment during this tough time, especially in the world of infertility, is just, it's a bit overwhelming in a good way, because it's nonstop and it's exciting, and the response has been, again, very positive. And again, this second book just came out, and I just couldn't be happier with the final result.
Right. And Ferris is a real little boy. He's very cute. I've seen pictures of him. But it actually, when we talked the first time, it took me a second to realize that I'm Very Ferris is IVF. Now I know you didn't name him Ferris just so that you could write a series of books about him, but that was very nice that it worked that way.
Yeah.
But it's a subject that, as we've talked about, and I know you talk about with a lot of people, it's not a subject that people discuss. It's one of those things where, people might think, well, there's something wrong with them. Why can't they have baby? What do you mean? There's for those of you who are just listening, I'm turning up my nose, I'm making faces, because people they assume, well, there is something wrong with you. No, there's not anything wrong with you. It just means you have to go about having a baby differently. And for some people it means that they adopt. I mean, there are many ways to bring children into your family. But, I think so many people don't even know what IVF is. And so give us just a tiny little bit of public service announcement about what IVF is.
Sure. IVF is in vitro fertilization. So that is where they retract and retrieve a woman's eggs, and they take a male sperm and they inseminate the egg with the sperm in basically a petri dish.
Yeah, we used to call them test tube babies. Ew.
Yeah, test tube babies is actually is IVF, and then through the process of medical science and people's individual situations and bodies and what medically we're dealing with, the embryos are created, and they are frozen depending on, again, situations at hand. And then once a healthy embryo has formed, again, depending on a situation, everyone's is different. The egg or eggs that are fertilized, that are embryos, are then implanted back into a woman's uterus. And the goal is that they stick over a certain period of time, and then you have a healthy pregnancy and have a baby. And there are many ways with IVF as well. There is embryo adoption, where perhaps if a woman and a man who are trying to have a baby cannot conceive with their own egg and their own sperm, there are couples out there that donate fertilized embryos that are healthy, and then another couple can adopt that embryo and have it implanted in the woman's uterus and carry, and that is their baby. There's egg donation, there's sperm donation. So it's a very, very delicate and just fascinating
Mm-hmm.
procedure to help
Right.
families that it's not, it is somewhat of a rather new concept. It hasn't been
Mm-hmm.
around forever,
Right. Right.
but it gives us an opportunity that those that would like to carry a baby
Mm-hmm.
that cannot naturally,
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very time consuming. It is
Right.
financially,
Oh, it's a
expensive.
big financial commitment.
It's
Mm-hmm.
very expensive. You'll see there are often documentaries and shows that talk about fertility clinics doing contests to couples to win the
Mm-hmm.
chance to have free IVF.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
because for some people, their insurance may cover it. Some it
absolutely
might cover part. Some
right,
it might not cover any of it,
right,
or
because
they might not have insurance. Mm-hmm.
exactly, because there are medications involved.
Mm-hmm.
There are procedures and surgeries often involve blood
Mm-hmm.
tests. And here's the thing: there's no promise that it works.
Right.
Some
Mm-hmm.
people don't like my analogy, but for me, I'd say it's the biggest Vegas gamble I've ever
Mm-hmm.
taken,
Right.
because you literally can do everything
Mm-hmm.
right
Mm-hmm.
and it still doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to then think about how many times can you
Mm-hmm.
do this, and mentally, physically,
Right.
financially, go through this
Mm-hmm.
procedure. So it's not a light topic to take, but that was where I wanted to go
Mm-hmm.
with IVF for a child's perspective,
Right.
because here's the thing. They don't need to know at a young age all
Right.
the
That they
technical
weren't
stuff.
conceived the normal way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I wanted to go and say, listen, you're eventually going to want to sit down with your child and let them know how they came to be. Because
Mm-hmm.
when they sit in their next class someday in high school or whatnot and learn about, well, this is
Right.
where babies come from.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is there's other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you're actually one of those ways. And let me
Mm-hmm.
explain to you how it
Mm-hmm.
happened. And I think the conversation can start when you're very, very young. So
Right.
that was my goal with the I'm Very
Mm-hmm.
Ferris series. Between 31 pages and the next book's about 38 pages,
Mm-hmm.
to very lightly touch upon the subject and give them an idea.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I came from,
Right.
and be proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that I think some people, if they're told the wrong information, they can be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
They can feel like they're not normal,
Right.
or that they're a science baby.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just absolutely horrific things to think
Right.
of, because none of them are true.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely normal. You have an
Mm-hmm.
incredibly beautiful story.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents wanted you so bad that they
Right.
went through this stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whether whatever their situation may be. And that was the whole point of the story. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm seeing this time around, coming to you, talking to you now, with the second book, is just the lives that have been touched, and people coming forward saying that your book gave me the confidence to talk about
Mm-hmm.
this, or I had religious background
Mm-hmm.
noise coming at me, or I had
Right.
political background noise,
Mm-hmm.
or I have family background
Mm-hmm.
noise that are just pressuring me. And then I realized that there's something out there that's going to help me
Mm-hmm.
talk about this and ignore that noise. And those type of comments, I wasn't prepared for the last time I talked to you,
Mm-hmm.
because it was, you have a product, you think it's great,
Mm-hmm.
you send it out there, but then when you start getting the emotional side
Mm-hmm.
from people
Right.
saying, this is my real life,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a story I read to my child when I go to bed, or this
Mm-hmm.
is a story that I have out in the kitchen near my medications every morning when I
Right.
take them,
Mm-hmm.
just to remind me some
Mm-hmm.
sort of hope and
Mm-hmm.
inspiration. I mean, that's the stuff, as a business owner, as an author, that there's no dollar amount you can put on
Mm-hmm.
that.
Right.
I go to bed at night thinking, oh my gosh, my book is doing this for someone
Mm-hmm.
else, and I never imagined that it could be that
Right.
powerful, and what a return on investment, I guess
Mm-hmm.
you could say, that it is to hear this type of stories from people, just to help them along in this incredibly hard time, in our society
Mm-hmm.
and in their own personal life.
Right. Yeah, and it's one of those things where, as you said, we just didn't talk about it.
No.
And and part of it was because it is new. I mean, this has not been going on for many, many years.
No.
And as we said, people don't know a lot about it. But then when they start talking about it, they're like, oh, okay. And so, they realize, wow, this is, you really did go through a lot. And conception in general is obviously something that, is just Many people say it's a miracle. It's a miracle it even happens. I mean,
Right.
when you look at the actual biological things that have to fall just right
Yep.
in order for conception, and then a pregnancy, and then a full-term delivery, where all of those things have to occur. I mean, it really is just incredible that that it even happens at all.
Right. It's a miracle. That's
Mhm.
the best word to
Mhm.
describe, to have a child, and
Mhm.
then to know that it's not going to happen easily for you, and
Mhm.
you're down a bumpy road as far as trying to even get
Mhm.
pregnant. The opportunity to have resources,
Mhm.
communities, groups online, socially, and like I said, my book, if it can be that other resource for you to help you along to stay positive, because that's
Mhm.
that's the hardest thing, I think, with
Right.
anything, no
Well,
matter what.
especially when you're on like your 50th shot, or
Exactly. Exactly. When you're staring
Mhm.
at a new set of needles and a new
Mhm.
set of pills that you have to take vaginally, or
Mhm.
you have to, your husband
Mhm.
has to go in, or your partner
Mhm.
has to go in and donate sperm again. I
Mhm.
mean, they're not meant to be gross topics. Don't talk about this.
It's
That's a
just
private one.
a
This
medical, yeah. Mhm.
this is medical. This is
Mhm.
what we have to do. This is part of the story of life for us,
Mhm.
and it needs to be spoken about, and you need to be confident. And when you talk about it, and realize again that there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you're
Right.
talking about. And if
Right.
people are too immature to handle that,
Mhm.
then you're talking to the wrong audience.
Right. Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't need to waste your time.
Yeah. When you get the 12-year-old boy giggles, it's like, no, no.
Right.
And it is a medical procedure. And it's funny, there's a TV show on right now. Now I've watched like 2 seconds of it, thought, "Ooh, I don't want to," that Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah.
Ew. Now that no, I could talk to you about this forever. That no, that no. So yeah, for some people, they
Right.
can talk about it, and some they can't.
Right.
But again, this is to show that you can talk about it. And we're not saying talk about it to everybody in the world, because you just don't talk about a lot of things like this to everybody in the world.
And not
You're not going to
everybody
talk
wants
to
to hear it, and not
right,
everybody not
right.
everybody believes in it, and that's the thing too with anything. Medical science it has a lot of adversity, and people have a
Mhm.
lot of opinions on things, and
Right.
so in vitro
Mhm.
fertilization, there are groups and
Mhm.
organizations that are absolutely anti that. There are
Right.
people that will
Mhm.
tell me, and I've heard these things, so I speak freely about
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
I've heard people say, well, if you do IVF, you're messing with God's plans. You're intervening in
But
it.
isn't it
And
God's plan that you could do this? I mean,
exactly. There
and
are
I know
many
you, yeah. Mhm.
that you can go with that, about why doctors are
Mhm.
put on earth, and why, and again,
Mhm.
and there are then other people that say they have absolutely no, they do not want to talk about faith, they do
Mhm.
not believe in a God, and they
Right.
don't. And in my book series, I do mention the word faith before, and
Mhm.
you'll see faith, love, and science in the
Mhm.
picture in the second book. And
Right.
people are like, I don't want that in the book. I don't believe in that.
Mhm.
So um, there's, you have to find a delicate balance, I
Mhm.
think, in
Right.
business. And then on this subject, for me, talking about people's personal medical journey to
Mhm.
have a child. And so I do what I feel is right. I do what
Mhm.
I believe. I listen to comments. I
Mhm.
respect people's
Right.
opinions. But at the end of the day, the business aspect for me is, I have a product that I stand behind,
Mhm.
and the words and the pictures are what I believe in, and
Right.
I respect if you don't believe in
Mhm.
those,
Right.
and I embrace and enjoy when you do.
Mhm. Right.
And that's just kind of the happy world of writing
Mhm.
books, I guess, and the picture book especially, because the pictures are just as important as the words are
Mhm.
that I've written.
Right. Oh, and they're cute. They're just so cute. Um, and there are obviously, people who, you mentioned faith. I mean, there's different types of faith too.
Right.
Maybe you don't believe in a deity or something like that, but you have faith in the medical system,
Yeah.
faith in your doctors, faith in yourself. I mean, all sorts of things like that. And clearly there are people who have objections to it.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep.
You're not going to change their mind.
No.
And yeah, I mean, that's that's just kind of what's out there. You know, and I mean, it's almost like this whole weird mask debate that we're having. Oh, you know, there's some people, it's just like, okay, not going to enter into that conversation, because all it's going to do is just make everybody annoyed.
Right.
You know, you can have your opinion about it. That's great. I might agree, might disagree, but I'm probably not going to change your mind.
Exactly.
But maybe I can provide some information about it if you want it, you know, and I think that's the other thing is so many people, you know, you know, especially like with the whole mask thing and COVID and all of that, we feel like we get it thrust upon us.
Right.
And, you know, with what you have, people have to contact you. They have to take the initiative. So then they've already kind of opened that door a crack, you know, so that you can say, you know, I've got this information for you. What do we need to do?
Right. And I think that's the point that I've learned with social media within the year's time since we've talked, is that social media is such a powerful, great tool. And it's also, I think, the works of the devil at the same time.
I know.
So,
I'm like, oh my gosh, it gives me a headache before 8:00 in the morning.
exactly. And that's the difference between now and several years ago, is the information we have at hand. And that's all subjects.
Right.
So while I'm in the midst of talking about a new book, I'm thinking about in my head, okay, there are people that have infertility cycles that were canceled because of COVID-19.
Right. I know that's going to be a huge thing. They're not able to go to the doctors.
Right. Or they are now having to, maybe they have waited forever to be pregnant and they are pregnant and they're going to have to deliver alone. Or now they're only able to bring in one other person, or they have to deliver the entire time with a mask on because those are the new rules. So I'm trying to balance all of that stuff in my head at the same time. And then you hear social media and you see rants and raves and people pushing on different subjects. And I try to be present every day. I feel that's my responsibility as an advocate and as an author. And again, as someone that wants to stay relevant with her business and in my book in these times, so that it doesn't get lost in the world of noise, I think.
Right.
And so, as you said, you know, I present information. I share every day. It's a kind of a different theme. Some days it's focusing on the book. Some days it's focusing on bits of encouragement and adversity for IVF or infertility or IUI or surrogacy or adoption. And then, a lot of times, sometimes people will message me back and share a story, and then I share those stories for encouragement. I don't want to overbear people, anyone who follows me on Instagram or Facebook, because there's enough people that do that and share their opinions and are harsh and tell you you're right or you're wrong. I'm not going to do that. I had people tell me that, and I listen and reply and say, I've heard you and I respect you. Thanks for sharing. But I'm out there trying to help you know that there's a real person here that wrote a book, that had an idea, that has a real story. None of it's made up. I mean, I've lived the walk that I'm talking, and I'm trying to give you something to help you along in your ways. I mean, I've had people that have gone through several cycles of IVF or infertility, IUI or whatnot, and it's not working, and they're on top of COVID on their brains. Now they're feeling the sadness of being alone without a child, and who knows how long. And I just try to be out there social media wise to help pick people up and let them know that I'm a voice and a person who will listen. And people need that right now.
Right.
Because we can't touch each other, and we can't give each other a hug, and we can't, you know, and so the opportunity just to send a message or to send a picture is sometimes what someone needs. That's all they needed to feel better today.
Because I think it's exactly as you said. Right now, just in general, people are feeling very isolated, very alone. You know, we're all kind of dabbling our toes at getting back out into the world, you know, some more than others, depending on circumstances. But it is still very isolating, you know, for many people. They're not back at work in an office, you know, they're still home officing, and that may continue. I mean, you know, I think that's going to be one of those things, what Google announced. Now, granted, I would think a good portion of Google people can work from home without too much, and they've definitely got the tech to be able to do it. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, even my husband, he's been told he doesn't go back till January.
Yeah.
And so then and we're stressed about COVID. At least we can finally buy toilet paper, but we can't buy disinfecting wipes.
Right.
All these various things, and that's just weird. I don't understand why people stocked up on toilet paper and stocked up to the amount they did. That was just very
Exactly.
bizarre. But and so we're going through that in general. And then when you add to the fact, that someone is trying to have a child, and as you said, maybe they were right in the middle of
Yeah.
all of this and it got put on hold
Right.
because, maybe they were in an area that was hit hard enough that they said, hospitals are closed. Procedures are being shut down. So, now obviously if you're delivering, they're not stopping that.
No.
But, they could stop it from, they can, as you said, kind of put a pause
Right.
on that for a while. And going into the doctor, that's just, I have telemedicine visits. I don't like telemedicine visits. When they want to know if my foot is swelling because I'm retaining fluid and I have to try and figure out how to hold the camera down there and not hang up on them. And I'm pretty tech savvy. But yeah, I mean,
No.
it's just, it's very weird. And when you're sharing really, really personal information,
Right.
it's face to face. And now this is purely anecdotal. I mean, I could be wrong on this. I would think face to face with your doctor is better than, and face to face as in person, not
Right.
just a telemedicine thing,
Right.
because hopefully the doctor is also picking up on your body language, some things like that you can't always get. And so, yeah, it makes this really, really challenging right now. And then, obviously there is the financial aspects where people, are thinking, gee, we just don't know if we can do this right now.
Well, there's that, and there's job security, and
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
are worried, am I
Mm-hmm.
going to still have a job there? Are we going to be able to afford this if
Mm-hmm.
our, procedures get stopped, or if I lose my job and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have insurance or whatnot?
Right.
It's hard when the world says what is essential and what's not, and
Mm-hmm.
someone thinks that your situation or your career or your personal livelihood is not essential.
Mm-hmm.
And that hurts because
Right.
you are trying again to have a family, and you're being told you're on lockdown, and you wish you were on lockdown with the one thing you really want,
Mm-hmm.
and the world is saying no, right now
Mm-hmm.
you can't have it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so I just,
And
again,
just getting pregnant right now. I mean, you hear the stories about, just any type, where you're wondering, what if I get COVID and I'm pregnant?
Yeah.
You mentioned, not being able to have your whole family in the
Right.
delivery room. I mean, all of those various things. And we have no idea when that's going to change. And there may be things that, it may be for years. There's
Right.
one person allowed in delivery room. You can't
Right.
have your whole family in there.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm guessing there are people who Zoom, but oy.
Their
Yeah,
own.
that's a little much. But I guess then you can obviously determine where the camera is pointed. I mean, I know people, they live stream everything, so
Right.
whatever. But
You
yeah,
find
I mean,
positives, and you
mhm,
find a way to get through this. And
mhm,
for me, it's a way to say, okay, I'm at home and I can't do
mhm,
story time right now with children, and
right.
I can't go to schools right now. And
Mhm,
there are some places that don't even want to touch an item. They don't
mhm,
think
right.
that, they think touching this will give you COVID.
Mhm,
So I'm trying to balance, well, how do I
mhm,
stay relevant and not fade off in the distance
mhm,
when this is a time frame that I think I
mhm.
really need to be there, especially are
Uh-oh.
at home and they're looking for something to
Mhm,
do, and a new book to read or whatnot. So that is where I'm taking the situation the world has presented me
mhm,
and making it into the best that I can.
right.
And that's by doing things like this with you, and being relevant on social media, getting into writing more blogs and being on more websites, and getting more involved with fertility clinics that are opening up and creating packages for patients and putting my information in there. It just, knowing that I have something and the world still needs it, and
Mhm,
I'm not going to stop no matter what kind of is thrown out in my way, because I think books are amazing and they have changed my life, not only when I'm an author now, but beforehand. I've always loved a real book that you can touch and smell and feel and look at. And I'm just going to keep doing it until the world tells me I'm wrong.
Cool.
Cool.
I'm getting a weird echo. Are you getting the echo?
No.
Okay, then I'll just ignore it. It's Friday. I haven't had enough coffee. Well, there, it's gone. But and it was me. It wasn't you. My voice was echoing. But it's exactly what you were saying. We need to be as positive right now as we can. And IVF it's scary. I mean, it's just, and you are, except for your spouse or your partner, you're pretty much going through it alone. And there may even be some people who are totally alone in doing it for whatever their circumstance is. And so to be able to connect with someone like you on Facebook to say, here's what's going on. That's got to be just one of the most invaluable parts of all of this.
I'm a free resource.
And
I
you're
am
really friendly and helpful.
I try to be. I mean, I'm sure the long list of lines of people that don't like me are out there, but I try to come across exactly. I try to come across as someone that honestly cares, because I do. And I've heard a lot of crap, let's be honest, of this situation and infertility and what I've done, and people thinking they know more about it than I do, and what I should have done and what I did wrong. And not only, to try to have a baby, but then starting my business, you hear people's feedback, oh, you should have done things this way or that way. So and I'm 37 years old. I'm very honest and open. So at my age, and the things I've heard, when people throw something at me and I'm like, oh, trust me, I get it. When this person is close to you throws some kind of loop in, like how they think you should have had sex to have a baby, or
you didn't do it right. You're like, no, we're pretty sure we were doing it the way you were supposed to.
Exactly. Or, again, are you sure you needed IVF? Are you sure? And then even after the fact, are you sure you don't want to try again?
Yeah.
All the medical things that people think they know about the human body, apparently, that I walk in. So I just try to be enlightening and be real, because sometimes that's what you need, is a real answer. And not just the, hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? You need someone to say, no, today really sucks, and let me tell you why. And this might help you get through it. And I'm here to do that. I write children's books, but I'm a real woman. If you've got something on your mind, which again, some people have come forward and told me, I'm happy to listen, and I'm confidential. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I don't try to
and so you're not giving medical advice.
No, I am just telling someone that has gone through it. And then I was very private when I did go through it. I kept it to myself. Back in my previous career, I didn't talk about it. And now I'm in a position where I can. And quite honestly, I've got nothing to lose. If you don't like the story, you don't agree with me doing genetic testing, or you don't agree with my son as an embryo being frozen, then unfrozen, and frozen as he's rebiopsied, that's all fine. Then I guess we won't be talking much more in the future. But there are a lot of people that
or we'll talk about something different.
Exactly. But there's a lot of people that need a little bit of guidance with this, or need confidence, or just need understanding, because maybe someone in their life is going through it and they have no clue what they're going through. They want to be helpful. They don't want to be rude or insensitive. And, they want to give them something, but they don't know what kind of gift to give them. Or why is a pineapple the representation of infertility? Or what does a rainbow baby mean? I mean, I've had all those kind of questions, and they're fun to talk about, because those are symbols and they mean something to the community. And I'm happy to help people with that. And then people walk away with a little bit more knowledge than they had before. So if I can do that.
Even if, maybe it's somebody who's, 60, who's clearly not, gonna go through it themselves. They might know somebody, but just knowledge. Why is the pineapple a symbol? I had no idea.
They say that we want you to stand strong and be sweet as you go through yours. And a pineapple is strong and sweet. So again, in the infertility world, you're going to be going through prickly things, and you need to stay strong. But then at the end, you're, the sweet reward of having a baby, or remembering what you're going through. So the pineapple is many symbols for many different reasons and whatnot, but in the infertility world, we use
I
that.
love it.
So
I
it's
love
a
it.
fun, it's a fun thing. And I, just again, talking about that and sharing those kind of things,
Hmm.
or recently learning like the yellow heart on your emojis is
Hmm.
for infertility, can be for infertility. So I often
Interesting.
do things with the yellow heart,
Hmm.
because that's our infertility symbol as well.
Hmm.
There's just all different things, and again, it's just an enlightening topic to talk
Hmm.
about, because a lot of people will go through it, and instead of shying away or not wanting to talk about it because
Hmm.
you're afraid what the response from that person will
Hmm.
be, like, oh, it didn't work, or oh, it did work but then we miscarried and we don't know what to
Hmm.
do, we don't know how to respond back.
Hmm.
Just sometimes saying, listen, I don't know the right thing to say
Hmm.
right now, so what guidance would you have,
Hmm.
or how do I approach this person?
Hmm.
I'm happy to help with those things.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because I went through a lot of this when I was diagnosed with cancer. You know, people disappeared. I mean, they
Right.
couldn't deal with it at all. Okay.
Right.
That was it was nothing against either them or me. They just couldn't deal with it. People who I had no idea even knew I existed became some of my biggest advocates. But one of the things, and it's exactly what you said, one of the things that people told me the most was I didn't know what to do or say.
Right.
And so, my response was usually, Hallmark sells cards. Because more than anything, you just want to know that people are thinking about you,
Right.
and then I tell people, when I would do posts on Facebook about it, you could click the like button.
Right.
That, you didn't
Exactly.
have to say anything. It just, so for me, it showed, oh, they're thinking about me. They're supporting me, some
Exactly.
things like that. It's been 5 years and I still go through a lot of what you're talking about with the people who are helpful. Not actually, let me phrase this differently. There are the trolls of the world for
Hmm.
anything. We're just going to ignore the trolls. They're just
Yeah.
going to troll, and no matter what. But there are so many people who really do honestly think they're being helpful and supportive. And,
Hmm.
and I know that and I appreciate that. But there are times where I'm thinking, seriously, you think
Right.
that if I stood on my head and, prayed to Zeus
Yeah.
twice a day, I wouldn't have gotten cancer? Now,
Right.
what I tell them is, thank you so much. But and many people really do, they do mean well, and they mean well with their questions. They might ask some really wonkadoodle questions or do weird things.
Right.
The couple of the weirdest things I've had, people pulled my hair. And this was when it came back, and I'm like, oh no, it's mine. And I said, if I had a wig on, would you have pulled it off? I mean, and I'm
Right.
sure it was the same principle of the people who, when they see a pregnant woman, they go to her belly. It's like,
Yeah.
don't, no touch. No,
Right.
there are
Right.
boundaries, folks.
There are boundaries, and it's just amazing again that a lot of people think they're the smartest people in the room,
Mhm. Oh,
and
yeah, and they went to Dr. Google.
oh, exactly. They know because so and
Mhm.
so that they know had this, so that's exactly what you should
Mhm.
do. Or they know because they had this experience, they know exactly what you're going
Mhm.
through. And there are people that you can't change people; they
Right.
have to change themselves.
Mhm.
You can educate, you can motivate, you can encourage, but
Mhm.
you can't change them. And I just think that a lot of people need to understand when there's so much extra noise coming
Mhm.
in from people that think they have the answer to your
Mhm.
fertility problem. Um, just the confidence to either, like you said, say thank you very
Mhm.
much and walk away,
Mhm.
or try not to let it bother you, and learning how to just decipher, like, when this person speaks
Mhm.
to me, I can't take what they say too seriously, because
Right.
it just not going to help me
Mhm.
today. It's going to bring me down, and I don't need that today.
Mhm.
And because it's amazing how many people think, again, like you said, like, if that there's something wrong with you, or that
Mhm.
you're doing something wrong, or it's your fault that this is happening
Oh
because
yeah, I
you're
had people tell me it was my fault I got cancer.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, and I mean, and they were literally, that's what and I'm like, excuse me, I don't think I need to talk to you anymore.
exactly. And then in infertility, once you're able to
Hmm.
be pregnant,
Hmm.
And then everyone who's a pregnancy expert comes
Oh,
out.
yeah.
You shouldn't be wearing this. You shouldn't be eating
Mhm.
this. You shouldn't be running here. You shouldn't be drinking this. It's like, uh-uh. Let me
Mhm.
decide on what I'm
Mhm.
going to do. I've made it this far. I think I know. And thank you so much
Mhm.
for your advice.
Mhm.
But I'll take it from here, kind of
Right.
a thing. Again, it's just the opportunity to have someone to talk to like this,
Mhm.
and have if someone say, "Listen, I had a similar situation. Let me share my story with you."
Mhm.
You walk away maybe laughing, or maybe you walk
Mhm.
away going, "Oh my gosh, this person has it so much harder than I thought I did." And you get to talk to people who understand,
Mhm.
and not people that say, "Oh, I know, I know, I
Mhm.
know," because the truth is you don't know. I have
Right.
no idea what you've gone through. You have no idea what I've gone through.
Mhm.
And it's disrespectful for each of us if we were to say, "Oh, I
Right.
know what you had,"
Right.
but to say, "I understand,"
Mhm.
or "I'm here for you," or
Mhm.
"Thanks for sharing that," because that really did suck.
Mhm.
And that makes me laugh,
Mhm.
because now I realize my situation when it sucked too, like we're both in
Mhm.
this kind of
Yeah.
together. Um, it just helps the human race, I think,
Mhm.
go through these tough times in our
Mhm.
own situations a lot easier
Mhm.
than the negativity
Right.
or people that are experts on what
Mhm.
you should be doing.
Yeah.
If we want an expert, we'll pay an expert, we'll go see
Right.
them. They're usually called doctors.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
So
and then we should probably get second and maybe even third opinions. I mean, I'm a big proponent
exactly.
of that, especially with it something as serious as what you and I have gone through. And it is interesting, what happens with friends and all of those things when you go through something like this. And I
Mhm.
tell people, you might, and so breast cancer. And so somebody will say, "Oh my gosh, my friend was just diagnosed with breast cancer." And the first thing I tell them is you need to remember every single person is different.
Right.
Yes, you got the same diagnosis, but that's where it ends. Everybody reacts differently. I mean, all sorts of things. And especially because I had so many complications. I tell
Sure.
people, you need to understand I was really, really special, and not in a good way. Now, I was special in the way that I survived, but so don't ever think, "Oh my gosh," and I have had people that said, "Oh, we thought of you," and not in a good way. They said, "And it scared us." I said, "You need to understand, no." Or they'll say, I couldn't survive something like that," and
Mhm.
I tell them, we survive what we're supposed to survive,
Right.
and
Exactly.
we get through. We have the strength to get through and sometimes, unfortunately, it means things don't go the way you want.
Right.
And so I don't know why I just thought of this. Maybe because we were talking about faith a little bit ago. Years ago, I was in a college performing group, and it was a Methodist university. And and so there was a song that was written for several of us to sing, but it was very specific for us. And the title of the song was "Sometimes the Answer is No."
Mhm.
And it was, you pray, and sometimes God says no, or the
Right.
deity or faith or whatever. And again, it doesn't mean there's something wrong or anything like that, because sometimes that no sends you off in a great direction.
Exactly.
And so we all just have to remember, yes, there are some similarities that people go through, but it's still very personal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And and that's the kind of thing that enlightens me, um, as I continue doing what I do.
Mhm.
The thing I've heard a lot is people think, well, you got what you wanted, so
Mhm.
you're good now. And it's like, what an interesting statement that is, that I got what
Mhm.
I wanted, that I got a baby, so I'm relieved of infertility, and I no longer have any of the feelings that I've had before. And
Right.
it's just, it makes you feel bad for those
Mhm.
people, because you thought that they knew and understand what you were going
Mhm.
through, and really they just think, well, okay, well, you have a baby, so now you don't have infertility.
Right.
No, I still have it, and you still have things
Right.
that run through
And we
your
still
brain.
have those nasty little mean voices in our head. I mean,
Absolutely. Sometimes more now than
Mhm.
ever. But
Mhm.
the opportunity again to, like you said, just to have people to surround yourself with
Mhm.
that are positive and
Right.
understanding, or can, sometimes you think you're going out to help them, but
Mhm.
really they end up helping you with
Oh, yeah.
sharing a.
Mhm.
That's the power in what I feel I do with social
Mhm.
media, and my website and the book and reviews and pictures that are sent forward. And again, I have a children's book. My goal is to have a book for women, geared towards women and infertility in the next year or so. And I can only imagine the response and the connections that will happen with that.
Right.
But if I'm getting what I'm getting through children's books, and even, we haven't even talked about, but when I hear some of those little kids come up to me and share with me what, mommy's getting lots of shots right now, because mom is going through secondary infertility. It's like, they have somewhat of an understanding. They have a respect for mommy. It's not like, oh, mom has to go in and do this right now because she has to do more shots, and that's going to make me late for playtime, or mommy's not going to feel good later. It's having respect that mommy's doing something to help mommy in trying to have a baby brother or a baby sister for you. And it's just, like I said, it's very, very gratifying, and it's just fulfilling to see these type of responses come through from people.
Right. The one thing we've never talked about is your husband. Obviously, he's very, very supportive, but are we ever going to see him writing a book or, anything like that?
My husband, Dan, he is not the writer. But he is, we're both very
pictured. He's pictured in here. Let's see. Let me find a.
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. And what's cute is people say that daddy, dad looks like, someone else's spouse. Like when I have people telling me, oh, this looks like Steve, or this looks like Phil. It's like, it's very, very cute to hear that. But Dan is my biggest support network. When the world tries to tell me what I do isn't important, or what I do is irrelevant, or isn't even a real job.
Right.
I've heard all those things, this is just a hobby for me. No.
Well, it's what a lot of people who all, have a home-based business. Oh yeah, it's your hobby.
Yeah. You working from home means that, you just do this for fun. But my husband, he reminds me what I do impacts people. And very often he'll tell me, so-and-so contacted me, and he's in a totally different world of what we do. He's in the business of building large capacity forklifts. Nothing to do with infertility, but he's very open, and he talks about, our infertility, and he doesn't mind me talking about it. And he'll tell me, so-and-so contacted me. We were talking about a deal, and then they ended up getting your book for someone else. And it's like, it just kind of comes full circle for us, and we're in totally different worlds of business. And his support drives me to keep going, literally on some of the days that I feel like, all right, I've had enough. No one cares about what I'm doing anymore, or I'm
stuck in my bedroom.
Exactly. And he definitely, that support that I need. Because I think everybody needs someone in their corner, and I always have him in my corner for this. And so that's the support level that I have, and the opportunity to have someone understand I wanted to step away from media, what I was doing before this, and start the company. And because that's a tough thing to swallow for a family, when you say, all right, I had a guaranteed paycheck and 401k and all that good stuff, the benefits that allowed us to have our child. I'd like to throw it all away and start and some people would say absolutely not. And he said, well, if anyone can do it, it's you. And so I've had his support the whole time. And vice versa. His position has led me to new territory. I've recently moved since we've last spoken.
Right.
So now I'm in a whole new state, in the great state of Indiana, and I'm in a new territory, and meeting new families. And my book now is spreading to new parts of this country. And it's really cool to have family support with him, and now just globally meeting new families. And even through COVID, the opportunity to go for a walk and have someone go, oh, that's Ferris. He's the guy from the book. And it's just,
does he wear his little bow ties all the time?
The bow ties have subsided a little bit. We're into boots now. Everywhere we go, we wear boots. So I have to think about the next book with throwing in some boots, because whether it's rain or shine, it's 90 degrees or it's snowing.
He's got his boots on. Oh, yeah.
the personality of him is coming out, but it's a great dynamic I have in my little family of
Mhm.
3 here with our animals, and I couldn't be happier.
I love it. Well, you mentioned that, this is obviously going to be an ongoing series. I mean, eventually, are we going to see Ferris get married? I mean, what are the plans? Is Ferris, and maybe I should, will Ferris age in the books is maybe the first question.
I think I'm gonna stick right. If I were to answer right now, my idea is Ferris is like a Simpsons character. He's
Right.
gonna
Kind of
stay
stays
the
that
same.
same age.
He's always gonna stay the same. But Ferris will be on adventures,
Mm-hmm.
and Ferris's adventures are what's going to bring you in, and that's what I really wanted to target with the second
Mm-hmm.
book of the I'm Very Ferris Takes a Bubble Bath. I thought about all of the responses people were coming into me talking about infertility, saying, it's not just a man and a woman test.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a single person by
Mm-hmm.
choice. It can be a gay couple. It
Mm-hmm.
can be, embryo donation.
Mm-hmm.
It can be embryo adoption. It can be someone who's handicapped. And I started thinking about all these dynamics and taking it into perspective. And you'll see that in the second book with the photos.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's a child in there, or a young adult in a wheelchair.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I have a child in there with a head helmet on, and you see a single mother.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you see 2 men with a child in
Mm-hmm.
there, because the world is a very, very beautiful place when you, again, block out the noise and look at families of all different dynamics. And that's really the core value of I'm Very Ferris, is to teach you that families are made every day.
Right. There's no longer a, what they call it, nuclear family. Mom, dad, boy, girl, cat, dog.
Right.
That does still happen quite a bit, but in many cases that's the rarity anymore.
Exactly. The American family, or wherever you are in the world, is very diverse and different, and I embrace that. And I want, again, when I write, I think of my son, but then I think about how many other people are thinking of their child and would want this for their child. So I want him to see all the different dynamics of families out there and what it means to come home to family. It's not just what's in your house, Ferris. It's going to be, this is what this person's family looks like. That's 100% wonderful, just like it is for this person who maybe lives with grandma and grandpa. That is perfect for them. And so I tried to tap into that within 38 pages, and keeping, again, the value and the core of what I wanted to talk about with IVF, yet going on an adventure, the bubble bath, because I'm a big advocate of water safety. For everyone, animals included. So you'll see that in this book. And so my thought plans for the next book, again, more adventures for Ferris, dabbling in with more characters. I brought a cat into this book. You'll see a cat. And, I've had people say, what about a sibling for Ferris, bringing in, other baby characters. So again, growing the dynamic of the storyline, taking in people's opinions and advice or suggestions for it, and trying to make people feel included in this series, no matter where you are in your household.
Right. And, and then the fact that it is your life that you're talking about. So, might be that Ferris is an only child. I'm an only child. Absolutely nothing wrong with being an only child. You get spoiled. I'll just put that out there. You get spoiled. And, so maybe Ferris doesn't have a younger sibling, but maybe Ferris's neighbor has a baby, or, Ferris goes on a sleepover or whatever. I mean, there's certainly lots of ways to bring other characters in.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I take in suggestions and listen to everybody's thoughts, and my brain is constantly churning. And my goal is I can get more books out in faster time frame as we go along. And this, in my business and whatnot, but I refuse to produce anything that I'm not 100% satisfied and happy with the quality and the product. And I'm 2 books in, hardcover and paperback, and I love the way they've turned out. They're different and dynamic in how they're presented, but they share the same storyline, and people are happy with them. And most importantly, again, the opportunity to bring a little bit of knowledge into your home about what IVF is through a little person's perspective is my goal.
Right. I love it. And, so many people, we can be doing that, whether it's something very personal or, maybe it's a business thing where we're sharing our knowledge. And,
Mhm.
maybe now that we're in this pandemic and stuck at home more, I tell people, we're probably still working as much, if not more, but we don't have commutes really, that's, or we're not going to networking things. I mean, I'm saving 8 hours a week probably by not going to things. So we've
Right.
got that time. Think about, folks, how can you be sharing your knowledge? Now, you don't have to be creating a book. This is a very cute book. We love this book, but maybe it's an ebook. Maybe it's just blog posts, something like that. But how can you be sharing your knowledge? Because nothing, we all like to think we're special, but nothing's totally unique. Somebody is going through something that is similar that could
Mhm.
maybe benefit from what you said. It's funny. I have an online social networking group. We started doing a Zoom one because we needed to see people, and then I've created a Facebook group, and I posted a thing yesterday, and I said, share a tip that we have, and one person said, I've started reading again.
Yeah.
And that right there is like, yeah, that's and so what can we be doing to share, and really to be reaching out to people. We've mentioned it several times. If you know someone who is going through something, whether it's an illness, whether it's something like IVF, maybe they're just, as we've said, really lonely. I mean, depression right now has got to be. Reach out to
Yeah.
them, let them know you're thinking about them.
Right.
And once we're out of this pandemic, don't let all that go away. That's the
No.
other thing. Continue, those friendships and all of those things. And I'm hoping that it will be what happens, that people realize, hey, this was great to spend time with my kids. Maybe I shouldn't be working 10 hours a day. All of these various things.
Yep.
So, oh my gosh. See, this is why I set a timer, because we could chat forever.
Really good.
I know we always have so much fun. So tell us how people connect with you and how they get a copy of either one of your books or both.
Yeah. Well, I am still at my website, which is tesskossow.com.
Mm-hmm,
You can purchase my books through my website,
mm-hmm.
which they will be signed by me, or they are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I'm trying to get into many independent bookstores.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening or watching this and you don't have it in your bookstore when it opens, you can contact me to try to get in there.
I'm going
My
to
goal
an independent bookstore tomorrow.
to get into as many as I can. I'm on Facebook for Tess Kossow. I have a business page, I'm Very Ferris, as well. And then I have Instagram, Tess Kossow, and I'm on LinkedIn as Tess Kossow because that is my real name. It's not just Tess. My name is Tess. And
And Ferris really is Ferris.
Ferris. Yes, he is. And that's where you can find me. And I really do read every comment and every message, every review. I'm slightly obsessed with finding out what's going on with my book because I'm that passionate about my
Mm-hmm.
product. So,
Right.
and the lives that it touches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm available and out there. And I'm very, very grateful and thankful to everyone who supports the I'm Very Ferris series. I take none of this for granted, and my journey may not have been as I had planned in life, but the opportunities it has brought me to be in other people's
Mm-hmm.
lives for a positive way to show that there can be light at the end of dark
Mm-hmm.
situations makes me forever grateful to do what I do and to write my books and to get into your home through a couple of pages of kids' pictures. So thank you.
I love it. I love it. One of my favorite memes says, if things aren't going the way you want, turn the page and yell, plot twist.
There you go. I love it.
So, do you have any final words of wisdom for everyone?
I would like to remind people that in our challenging 2020, it's also a really great time for a lot of people because even though there is a lot of noise out there that we're seeing all the time, there are people out there that maybe got through and survived a very difficult situation. Maybe they are able to be pregnant now in the world of infertility. their transfer worked, or maybe they just delivered and they're a brand new mommy or brand new dad.
Mhm.
So when you stop and think like, oh, when is 2020 going to be over? Can we just fast forward through 2020? Try and remember that 2020 is also a really great time for some people. And it could be a very exciting time for some people. And to be cognizant of that and respectful of that, and remember that if it is not that type of year for you, it doesn't last forever, and that there is opportunity for you. You know, tomorrow is a new day. So to keep the faith and to keep a sense of enlightenment, and to reach out if you need help in fertility or something else. I've had people reach out, they have a business idea or they want to start writing and they don't know how to do it. You know, that's where I can be of help, and just say hello, because I'm a real person and I'm here.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Well, can't wait to get the third installment in Ferris's journey and adventures, so that we can chat again. And of course, we have to chat between now and then. But I've been having an absolutely wonderful time talking again with Tess Kossow. I am Deb Creer. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.